What's up everybody, this is Danny and today I have a goodie. This is the OnePlus Nord versus the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro camera comparison. So the Nord right away has the ultra wide angle camera, which I absolutely love. But what I want to do is I want to test all of these cameras and see if you actually need the flagships or if you can just save money with the OnePlus Nord. So let me know what video looks best, what audio sounds best, and we'll test these cameras out in all different conditions and see which one comes out on top. First, let's quickly talk about the testing process. All of these pictures were taken on auto mode with smart content detection on to make things fair. Of course, all three have pro modes, so if you have the time to dial in for that perfect shot, you can. The OnePlus Nord and the OnePlus 8 are very similar in camera specs, so I was really interested in this comparison, but I also wanted to see if you could actually tell the difference with the most expensive OnePlus 8 Pro. After doing an extensive test and looking at a ton of pictures side by side, there are definitely some differences which I will show you in this video, but you have to determine if they are important enough to spend that extra cash. When it comes to daytime pictures, they don't look wildly different, but I'm surprised to see so much variance when it comes to the white balance, and some pictures look nearly identical, but in some of them you can really tell the difference in temperature, and sometimes saturation levels are also different. Even though these cameras are from the same company, there are variances in sky color rendition. Dynamic range sometimes goes back and forth, but just as expected, all three take great pictures in good light with lots of details, plenty of sharpness, and great colors. It's hard to generalize when sometimes the Nord's slight overexposure looks better in certain conditions with more pleasing white balance. Once in a while, the OnePlus 8 will pull a wild card and look better, but in most instances, the OnePlus 8 Pro does produce the better image overall, and you really can't see this until you start to crop in. I'm actually quite impressed with the HDR on all three models. OnePlus has come a long way in the camera department, and I think you'll be happy during the day with any of these. But punching in here, you can see that the OnePlus 8 Pro has a sharper image with less noise. Look at how smooth the sky is here on the 8 Pro and how grainy it is here on the other two. With the trees, you can see much better detail, and this is where you can start to tell the difference with the Nord. And in this case, like 90% of the pictures, they look very similar, but when you dig in, you'll see more prominent purple fringing on the Nord and the OnePlus 8. It's cleaner on the 8 Pro. All three of the cameras have high resolution modes to take full advantage of the 48 megapixel sensors, but they are not again created equal. When you crop in on the tree of life, you'll just see how sharp the leaves are still on the OnePlus 8 Pro. You can see the tree detail, it's insane. The 8 looks the second best, and you can see the Nord coming in last. Take a look at a shot of this mountain in 12 megapixel mode. They all look pretty much the same, but switch it to 48 megapixels and you do lose some of that dynamic range that you will get with the 12 megapixel binning, so I would probably stick to the 12 megapixel mode. When punching in heavy, I am surprised how good the Nord did here, but it looks over sharpened, where the 8 Pro looks to retain more detail on the trees and on the mountain. All three have wide angle cameras, but the OnePlus 8 Pro has the highest resolution at 48 megapixels, and it shows. When capturing in 48 megapixel mode, just look at how much sharper the Pro is with the details on the door. It's really great to have such high resolution on an ultra wide camera, but the question you have to ask yourself is, are you really peeping that much at the detail? And does the sacrifice in losing small details a big deal for you? And the answer for the majority is probably going to be no. So for me, I was surprised how well the Nord kept up with the other two models. If you want the best of OnePlus, then you need to go with the 8 Pro, especially if you want telephoto. Yes, the Nord and OnePlus 8 have a 2x option, but it crops into the sensor, and to be honest, it looks good, but the 8 Pro has a 3 times telephoto, which is sharper, and I do appreciate that extra depth. Yes, there are some unnecessary things like the 2 megapixel macro camera on the Nord. I wouldn't use it, it looks pretty terrible. But besides that and the extra noise, which I'm sure can be fixed in future software updates, the Nord looks really solid here, so let me know what you guys think. When it comes to video, the Nord cannot shoot 4K 60 frames per second like the other two models at this time. It's limited to 4K 30 frames per second, but the video looks great on all three. But the OnePlus 8 Pro is capturing richer colors and contrast, but I wouldn't say this is accurate as the other two are in this scenario. Dynamic range looks great on all three phones, and stabilization also looks solid on all of the models. There might be some minor differences here, but for the most part, the video during the day looks very similar on these three phones.
Before we move on to the low light, let's look at selfies. The Nord surprisingly has the higher resolution 32 megapixel front facing camera along with the 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, which again, I absolutely love. I wish all smartphones had this. The Nord tends to brighten the skin tone, so that is going to be a personal preference, while the other two are oversaturating here, depending on the lighting. But here the OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro look better and more balanced in my opinion. So let me know which one that you think looks better in the comment section below. So let's get to the low light performance. I think a lot of the same comparison traits apply in the nighttime shots as well, but this is where I feel like the OnePlus 8 Pro sets itself apart. In moderate low light, the three cameras again show similar characteristics. In a lot of side-by-side shots, they look very similar. In auto mode, they all don't have the best dynamic range I've seen, but Nightscape makes a huge difference in balancing out the sign and brightening up the overall scene. Sometimes they seem to have their own white balance and color saturation, which will be personal preference. I can't believe that these are just totally different looking shots. But when you dig deeper and punch in, this is where the Nord starts to show its budget side. The noise is heavier on the Nord in low light compared to the other two, and the overall image is softer with less detail. The OnePlus 8 did the best here actually with the tree detail and noise, but I would say almost every time the 8 Pro captures a sharper image with more detail, has deeper background separation. I took so many pictures, but I don't think I needed to take this many to show that this is a trait that is constantly repeated. If you shoot a lot at night and need better low light performance, I would definitely go with the OnePlus 8 Pro. I did a quick wide angle test and look at how much light the 8 Pro lets in. It's a totally different shot than the other two. The Nord's wide angle at night by itself is pretty soft overall, but it looks very similar to the OnePlus 8. When you punch in, look at how much sharper the sign is. The Nord's noise level is way worse and the 8 sits in the middle. But thank goodness all of these cameras have Nightscape even with the wide angle, so this is what you need to do. The Nord gains from this big time, but the 8 Pro also gains and still ends up being the best. The same results also show in nighttime 4K video. If you look in the sky, you can see that the OnePlus 8 Pro has the cleanest image out of the three. The detail is also slightly better. This ride is really dark inside, and I don't think this video is doing it justice. This last bit is really impressive, so I wanted to capture it with all three. They look good from this small screen, but when you crop in, you can really see the detail in the 8 Pro and the superior noise reduction. Doing this comparison made me realize just how good the Nord is for the price point. Just because it might not perform as well as the more expensive models doesn't make the camera bad at night. In fact, I think a lot of people in this price point will be happy with the performance in the photo department, especially with Nightscape. Here are a few more pictures with Nightscape on all three. Let me know which one that you think looks better. They all brighten up the scene nicely, but I still think that the OnePlus 8 Pro is the better looking camera. I also took some portrait mode shots. I'm digging some of the shots that I got at night. The same advantage of 3x optical zoom is also a winner for the 8 Pro. The zoom shots are so much sharper, so nighttime is where you're going to see that difference if you spend that extra cash. So in the end, what do I think? I think you have to ask yourself this. Yes, there is a difference when it comes to camera quality, but how much better is that camera quality that you saw today? Is it worth hundreds of dollars more? And with the 8 Pro, is it worth almost double the price? If you are a huge selfie taker, I think the Nord does better at night with the front-facing camera. It's not the best that I've seen, but having that wide angle is awesome, and the other phones don't have that. There are things to consider too, because a phone is not just the camera, it's the display, the build quality, the battery life, speaker quality, wireless charging, and the list goes on and on. And if you want the best of the best, I would for sure go with the 8 Pro. It's the flagship for a reason. But if you're on a budget and you want a OnePlus phone that performs well with a good camera for much less, I think the Nord is for you. In fact, I'm going to say that the Nord is a better deal than the OnePlus 8, so I think the choice is really between the Nord and the 8 Pro. Might be a little drastic, but let me know if you agree or disagree. So I'm curious, what did you think of the outcome of this camera test, and which camera did you like the best? Does this make you want to buy a OnePlus Nord, or does it make you want to stick to the flagship models? I hope this helped you make a buying decision. Subscribe for more videos like this, hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.